Hi, this is Jack from the Spitfire Audio Customer Experience team. In this video, I'm going to give a demonstration of the LCO Textures Library user interface controls. I'm going to start this video by looking at the textures grid. This follows our normal Evolutions engine, and you can see that the user interface is mainly taken up with the grid, which is also known as the pegboard. This is where we can assign different evolutions to different note ranges by simply clicking on the different pegs. The note ranges run up the y-axis and then the evolutions run across the x-axis. The 4 different types of texture which are in this library are also displayed in different colour codes, and the different colours are then also reflected on the keyboard at the bottom. You can use the slider at the bottom of the user interface to scroll through the evolutions grid. At the top of the grid is the dice option, and this is where you can randomize the options, either by the 4 different types or you can randomize with any. You can also do it with those visible to you or within a particular column. So if I was to choose one of the different types, let's choose ethereal, you can see that it only randomizes within the first category of evolution. Below the grid we have a further 3 controls per evolution. The effects on and off toggle allows you to choose whether that evolution is assigned to the controls on the right hand side for the 3 different types of effects. You then have the volume control per evolution and also a pan control, which is again per evolution. To the right of the interface you have the main microphone controls. You have firstly the close microphones and then you have the main array. In this particular library, the main array is made up of the outriggers and also the tree microphones. Then you have the room microphones and also a custom mix which is created by Joe Rubel. To the right of this you then have the 3 expression controls, which is dynamics mapped to CC number 1. Dynamics in this particular library is how you crossfade the different dynamic layers. The variation control, when at 100% like it currently is displayed, is where the user will have full control over the evolution over its entire duration. By turning this to the left, we eat into the sample by 6 seconds. The expression control mapped to CC number 11 is simply a volume control which operates within the master volume of the library. Below the expression controls we have the ADSR, which stands for Attack, Decay, Sustain and Release. This is the amplitude envelope of the library, and you can imagine this as though it is the shape of the sound. So the attack time is how long it takes for the sound to fade in, and then the decay time is how long it takes for the sound to go from the attack point to the sustain level, which the sustain is effectively a volume control for the duration of the note while your hand is still holding the key. And then the release is how long it takes for the sound to decay to 0 once you've let go of the key. The controls in the bottom right hand corner of the user interface are the 3 master effects. Here we have the reverb control, which has its own pre-delay, size and also a return. The control below reverb is for delay, which again has its further controls. It has a time, dampening, pan, feedback option and the return as well. At the very bottom we have the tape saturation control, which features a gain, warmth and also a high frequency roll-off option. If we were to go to the library folder on the left hand side, we can then dive in and we can see that the individual textures are categorized into 4 different types. For this particular demonstration, I'm just going to load up one of the ethereal patches. When you load an individual texture, you'll notice that it loads into the more advanced view, also known as the expert view. If you wanted a more simple view, you can click the simple view option on the top left hand corner of the user interface. The first thing to note with the individual textures is there is a further 2 more microphones that have been added to this library. The P stands for plate, and this is where the samples have been processed through a plate reverb. We then have the stretched option, which is where the samples have been stretched to create a more pad-like sound. Each one of these microphones can have its symbol clicked and then assigned to a different output of contact. Above the microphones we have a further 4 options. The first is where we can adjust the velocity curves of the library. The next option allows us to change the stereo width and panning per microphone. So for example, if I was to choose the main array microphone by selecting this M on the left hand side, I can then change the panning to be more on the right hand side. The Next option is the music note symbol. In this particular library, this control doesn't actually do anything. However, it allows you to preserve the microphone selection when changing articulations in our other libraries. The floppy disk option allows the user to reset mix settings, copy and paste them, or also load and save a mix preset which you might have curated yourself and is a personal favourite. To demonstrate this in action, what I can do is I can change and create a microphone setup, which, for example, let's say I really enjoy this particular array, and then I'm going to load in another patch, maybe from our Astral section. So I can then go to the floppy disk control and copy the mix settings, and from the floppy disk control on the second patch, simply paste those mix settings in the next section. Next to the microphones, we have our memory saving options. So if, for example, if I was to choose laptop from this drop-down list, we'll notice that some of the microphones have now been unloaded, which means some of the sample content has now been removed from RAM. The Purge Unused button, when unchecked, will load all the necessary sample content into RAM. So, for example, now if I was to turn on the microphones, you'll notice that the memory at the top of my contact window is no longer increasing. We then have a transpose option and also a CC map velocity function. However, in this library, the entire dynamic response is reliant upon the dynamics fader, so the CC map velocity control again doesn't do anything. To the right of the CC map velocities option, we have the round robin options. Again, in this library, these don't actually do anything. To the right of the round robins is the expression controls once more, which is where we can see the normal dynamics mapped to CC number 1, which is how we crossfade the different dynamics in this library. We then have a reverb toggle, which allows us to decrease the reverb or increase it, and expression mapped to CC number 11, which is the volume control operating within the master volume. Below this, we then have the amplitude envelope again, the ADSR attack, decay, sustain and release, described in the textures grid section of this video. If you have any further questions about the LCO textures library, please get in touch with us at spitfireaudio.com/support. Thanks.